British people. Don't you just love them?
Birmingham is a f***ing shithole!
There's no traffic, the light's green, but hold on, it's a liner!
Dare push through my loud box again, and it'll be last year, you f***ing thing I'm waiting!
Well, Valve certainly seems to love him. Valve has a history of hiring random comedians to do voiceovers for their games. And while developing Portal 2, Valve needed somebody to voice their new, bumbling AI companion, Wheatley. After going through many different potential voice actors, they finally landed on the luscious, soothing voice of Stephen Merchant.
What were you guys doing in there? I was sucking his cock.
Now, I've seen countless Portal fans claim Wheatley as their favorite character in the entire franchise, and it's pretty easy to see why. Stephen Merchant is giving his 100% the entire time. But I've always had a thought lingering in the back of my mind while playing Portal. You see, Aperture Science is filled to the brim with robots. Robot turrets, robot walls, robot cubes. Everything is a robot, and they all sound pretty robot-y. Well, that's pretty obvious. Of course, these robots are going to sound like robots. That is, except for one. You see, even in my stupid child brain, I always wondered why Wheatley was unique. He didn't sound like a robot, he just sounded like a guy. And you know what? Why was he British? Those questions have been left unanswered. Left unanswered until today. So while we wait for Kane Pixels to finally finish the Portal movie, why not beat a dead horse one more time on today's episode of Bong. I know what you're saying. The British robots aren't anything new. I mean, they're in Fallout, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Doctor Who, whatever. You're right. But Portal was different. You see, in Portal 1, all the robots have super heavily modulated voices.
You're doing quite well.
I'm on fire. You're the lady from the test.
And they're all pretty ambiguous in terms of age, ethnicity, gender. Sure, GLaDOS kinda sounded like a woman, but beyond that, there was no real human-like qualities to her voice. Portal 2 also follows this convention. Although the robots sound much more human, there are still some telltale signs that they're a robot.
Good space.
Beautiful lady corpse.
You are about to get me killed.
So why does Wheatley just sound like a random dude from England?
Bloody hell, what have you got me into here, mate? This is mental.
After consulting my team, and it's just me, we've concocted a few theories. Theories to explain why the little guy in Portal 2 is inexplicably British. And by the end of all this, I promise, you're not gonna see him the same way. Okay, we know that Aperture Science was messing around with putting humans into robots, right? So it's entirely plausible that Wheatley has the soul of some random British guy trapped inside of him. But this doesn't explain why he sounds so human. I mean, GLaDOS is also a human, and you hear how she sounds? She sounds like a fucking Vocaloid. I gotta cut that out of the script. Also, Aperture Science is located in Upper Michigan, so it makes no sense why Wheatley's British. How many British people do you think are in Upper Michigan? And before you guys say that's irrelevant, I challenge anybody watching this video who lives in America to count on your hand how many British people you know that also live here. Because I'm American and I don't know any British people that live here, okay? I'm sure there's probably some, but that's not the point of this. The point is that there are very, very little. The point being, even if Wheatley was a real person, statistically speaking, it makes no sense that he's British. And even if it did make sense, it still makes no sense as to why he doesn't sound like a robot. Myth busted. Hear me out here. Wheatley being designed to be as stupid as humanly possible is a stupid idea. I mean, what were they thinking? Why would you deliberately give your crazy, powerful, self-aware AI a core that deliberately feeds it terrible ideas? And I know the entire point of Aperture is to build these shitty, counterintuitive, science-y things, but Wheatley seems too stupid, even for Aperture standards. So if Aperture didn't make Wheatley, who did? Black Mesa. Think about it. We know Aperture Science had major beef with Black Mesa for government funding. And thanks to that Lab Rat comic book, we know Aperture, in some part, stole a bunch of technology from Black Mesa. And funnily enough, we see all this stolen technology around the same time Aperture Science is developing the cores to hang on GLaDOS. So, 2 and 2 together here. If you're Black Mesa, and you see that Aperture is deliberately stealing your technology, what's stopping you from slipping in a core that deliberately fucks with Aperture's biggest piece of equipment? This would explain why Wheatley's voice isn't modulated. Black Mesa, having much more time, resources, money, could realistically build a core much more advanced than the ones at Aperture, which is why Wheatley's voice is so clear. But why is Wheatley British? We're gonna need to take a few steps back to figure this one out, like a lot of steps back.
Welcome to colonial America. We, the United States of America, have just declared our independence from the tyrannical rule of King George. And now we call for an end to the British Empire.
Okay, but to give some historical context, the common people of the United States never really liked British people. This dates back as far as the 1700s, when a lot of citizens of colonial America were unhappy with their treatment by the British Empire. You know, this hatred gets passed on from generation to generation. My point of all this is, American culture is not very kind to the average Brit. That's why British people in American shows are always either butlers or depressed. Or butlers and depressed. I mean, now that I actually think about it, even in like British shows, they're like depressed. Dude, are British people okay? Like, straight up think about it. Other than like the Kingsman, like, think about every single piece of British media is just like depressing. My point is, it's fucked up that Valve had the idea for this really moronic, idiotic, selfish, dense robot and decided to cast the most British person ever to play him. Okay, this wasn't really a theory, I just found it interesting that Americans still hold grudges against the British after like 250 years. Anyway, back to the point of this video. Wheatley is British because Americans think British people are bumbling idiots who can't do anything right. I'm not one of those Americans who think that though. I love you, British people. Hey, so remember how I said there were no British people living in Upper Michigan? Well, I kind of lied. Let me set the scene. It's 1863. You're a copper miner in England. You're a failure. You barely mine any copper. Your parents hate you. They want you gone. And that is, until you hear about a boom of copper in this newfangled place called Michigan. So without much to lose, you pack your bags and move to the United States of America. You finally fulfill your dream. You bring home more copper than you even know what to do with. You can finally settle down, get married, have a son, put that son through college, buy a house. This is the life of Captain Richard Uren. He was a part of the Cousin Jack movement of the mid-19th century. Countless Englishmen would move to the States, specifically the Midwest, in hopes of mining iron and copper. Most of these mines now sit empty, but a majority of the Cousin Jacks elected to remain in the Midwest. It would be one of these empty mines that would be renovated and converted into the Aperture Science Computer-Aided Enrichment Center. Maybe it was Captain Richard Uren's grandson, who finally took up the neat little offer from Aperture Science to be immortal. Maybe he's the man who becomes Wheatley. Okay, well, Captain Richard Uren's son is actually a top civil engineer, so it's unlikely that he's the idiot that we see Wheatley as in the game. So myth busted, yeah, whatever. But cool history lesson. Man, oh, this is a hard theory. You ever think about how Portal 2 is basically focused around Wheatley the entire time? I mean, you're following him around in Act 1, he helps you escape and then he betrays you in Act 2. You send that bitch to space in Act 3. It's a little unusual. For a character that was so randomly introduced to suddenly be given the spotlight with zero explanation, it's almost like someone, or something, is guiding Chell constantly towards Wheatley. I wonder who is the G-Man. Okay, hear me out. 9 trillion years after the events of Half-Life, G-Man, at the behest of his employers, needs to conduct one final job, and he needs a human to do it. Problem is, all the humans are dead, except for one. So, he creates Wheatley, makes him British, makes him stupid. That way, Chell can trust Wheatley. Chell, a red, white, and blue-blooded American, knows that all British people are good for is serving Americans. So Chell goes along with Wheatley, and she sets everything into place. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Wheatley is British. Sorry to any British people watching this. You guys are awesome, but the United States does not like you guys. I just want to let you guys know though, as an American, I love you guys. Thank you for giving us Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Even if you're not British and you're still watching this, I love you guys too. If you like this video and you want to see more, hug that subscribe button tenderly and gently. Don't worry, I'm back on the YouTube grind. Danganronpa video coming soon. I'll see you guys there. Welp, goodbye. Love, Bongo-matic.